I'm the last one to overestimate the effects of psychedelics on a human being, but it would seem that the ayahuasca has fried Aaron Rodgers' mind.
And welcome back to yet another Buffalo Bills pregame. It's the 2023 season, and this time it's our Super Bowl year. I may have said it before, but this time I really mean it. And we're kicking off our season against the New York Jets, the Battle of New York, if there was another team that played in New York. And in case there's any of you out there who have not heard, having joined the New York Jets this year is the one and only, the formidable, the spun-out Aaron Rodgers, perhaps the most famous quarterback in the league, former Jeopardy host, is now the quarterback for one of our in-division rivals. And Dan, I'm going to bring in the conversation right away. Knee-jerk reaction to Aaron Rodgers being a Jet.
It's certainly going to add some diversity to the division, especially. It seems like teams are trying to stack up against the Bills. With Miami adding a bunch of pieces and, the Jets adding Aaron Rodgers. I think it'll be interesting to see. I think it could go really good, and the Jets might be unstoppable with some of those pieces they've added with Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Dalvin Cook. But it could easily go very badly, I think. So we'll see what happens.
There are not a whole lot of situations where a big name quarterback comes into a new situation and just does awesome right off the bat. So reservations are to be understood for sure. But ultimately, they're still the Jets, strengthening that Jets to Wisconsin to New York pipeline. Apparently, those disgraced Green Bay quarterbacks just can't give up the green. So they love going in that direction. But I can't imagine that Aaron Rodgers is going to, under the scrutiny of the New York media, thrive at all. He is not one to suffer the media especially well, and when it is a constant din the way it can be in New York, I'm concerned that it's not going to end up especially well for him. And considering the investment that the organization made in him, I think this is going to go very badly for the Jets in general. They have very much purchased for now, saying Aaron Rodgers is our quarterback, we think we can win now. And based on how well the AFC shifted to beat the New England Patriots for 20 years, I'm not really too concerned that all of a sudden the New York Jets have figured out the system on how to beat a top-notch quarterback. So as a Texas Rangers fans who saw the in-division rivals spend a huge amount on Albert Pujols, and that sunk the Angels to the point they have not recovered yet, I have been nothing but happy about Aaron Rodgers joining the division as a Jet. But this is our first time together since the draft review. So the entire preseason has taken place. Without getting too deep into the weeds, talking about the Bills on our Bills pregame show here. What has you most impressed by the Bills, or were you most excited about the team going into the season?
So I think in the games that they did play, or in the time that the starters did play, I think Josh Allen, Diggs, and Gabe Davis, they look like they still have that chemistry, which is good as well. And I do think Dalton, Kincaid had a nice couple plays as well. It seems like the offensive line has been struggling a little bit. So we'll see how that goes. With Spencer Brown, he looks like he might have been struggling out there, and Dawkins as well. So we'll see how they play week one.
Yeah, ever since the dominance of the Patriots, the two tight ends, I have been quick to fall in love with any Bills tight end that shows flashes of that kind of skill set. So obviously seeing Kincaid play has got me very excited as well. But as many changes it seems for us the Bills have had, the Bills are tied with the Bengals for the highest percentage of returning players on the roster. That this team is continuing to grow together, that the core has stayed together, and I think consistency, congruency is something that is going to be a benefit to the Bills going forward in the season. On the other side of the coin, is there something about the Bills that has you worried about this year for the 2023 season?
I wouldn't say anything in particular. It seems like the pressure might be a little bit off. Last year there was just some some really high expectations everyone had for the Bills, and it seems like this year that's not the case. Where a lot of people are picking the Dolphins or maybe even the Jets to win the division. So I don't see any reason that they should be worse than they were last year. It is interesting. Like we had mentioned, cutting two seventh round draft picks doesn't necessarily bode well right now. You'll see how they turn out. But that's something to keep in mind. Obviously, you want your lower round guys to at least be making the team in the first year, but we'll see how that pans out.
I feel like McDermott's the type that will send a signal that it's all based on performance no matter what. So even if you are drafted by this team in the 7th round, I'm sure a 4th round pick wouldn't have been quick to be cut off the team, but just to show to everyone that it is a merit-based roster, and both players were picked up and are on the roster of Houston. So not good enough for the Bills, good enough to make their roster. I'm not scared about Houston at any point this season. Personally, my biggest concern, obviously, going into the season is not having Matt Barkley. He is our talisman. I'm sure he'll be back. He'll never, he being the spirit animal of the Bills, he'll never stray too far. But until then, I do have a bit of a concern. Sticking with Matt Barkley's side of the ball, the offensive breakdown. Damien Harris comes in on running back. Does his skill set fill the need that the Bills have had in the running game?
I think him. I think with him and James Cook, I think they'll definitely. James Cook seems like he's ready to take on a bigger role and be more starter. Fill in Singletary, but give a different angle than what kind of running back Singletary was, and him with Damien Harris and Latavius Murray. I think they definitely have a running backs who are very versatile and who can do if they want to catch anything out of the backfield or anything like that. I think they have the guys for that, especially given how pass heavy the Bills' offense has been.
Thank goodness for that, considering how much better the throwing game has been than the running game. The most changes of any unit on the team this season is most likely the offensive line. Whether or not those changes result in upgrades is yet to be seen. Performance in the preseason leaves that to be up in the air, it would seem. But does an offensive line that's still working on gelling together, do you think that they're going to struggle against what is at least being presented as one of the strongest defensive lines in the league? If HBO is to be believed.
I definitely think it's Josh Allen's a really unique quarterback where I feel like even when they're playing against a really good defensive line, he still is able to get out of it, and I think he has some of his best throws out of the pocket. Definitely that is going to be a concern given how the Bills' offensive line has struggled going up against one of the better defensive lines in the league. We'll see. What they can do.
I feel like this is something we've casually thrown out in Buffalo Bills pregame for years and years and years. But with an aggressive defensive line, maybe an effective screen game would become very useful in this kind of game. So, I'm available for offensive coordinator too between Buffalo preseason games. On the other side of the ball, Dalvin Cook and Breece Hall are coming into the backfield for the Jets. With Aaron Rodgers coming in, all the money invested in the passing game, do you think that the Jets might have a sneaky good running game?
Yeah, no, I definitely think, given the pieces that they've put together on that offense, I definitely think the Jets, with or without Aaron Rodgers, could definitely have the potential to be an explosive offense. So it'll be interesting to see how Aaron Rodgers gels with them. If he brings them down or if he makes them the explosive offense that I think they can be. I think given the addition of Dalvin Cook as well, that adds a lot of depth to the running back position. So I definitely think that they'll have a solid running game.
Breece Hall was looking formidable last season until the injury slowed him down quite a bit. Dalvin Cook, although only 28 years old, a lot of tread off the tires after Minnesota. So I'll be very interested, maybe not week one how they perform, but the next time the Jets have we face the Jets, I doubt that they'll be as effective running squad as we'll face this time. So we have that to look forward to. Our defensive backfield still in question. We don't exactly know who's going to be starting after Trey White. The wide receiver core for the Jets is fast but a bit undersized. How do you see our defensive backs matching up against their wide receivers and Aaron Rodgers?
I definitely think that the Bills have, a physical secondary where they definitely are, they play well against that kind of style of receiver, where they're undersized and fast. So I definitely think, I'm excited to see, how the secondary performs with Benford. It seems like him or Jackson might be the second cornerback. Now obviously Trey White and, Kaiir Elam still being there. I don't think him being lower on the depth chart is necessarily even a knock on him because I think he played well last year. But I just think Benford has been better, so I think they'll go with him and see how that goes. But I'm excited to see how the secondary performs, especially with Micah Hyde coming back.
Yes, it'll be very nice to see him. But also, we've relied on the same pair of safeties for like 7 years now. So as solid as they've been back there, maybe it's time for some of the other guys to start getting more playing time too. So I'm looking forward to keeping. I would like to see the safeties, veteran rested as much as we can and make them as ready for the late season run. Because if this season's going to mean anything, it's got to have a late season run involved. So I will start off by picking this week because I think the Bills are going to score early, score often. You can't shut out Aaron Rodgers, but the game will never be in question. I have the Bills winning 33-23. What do you think about the Bills' chances against the Jets this week?
I'm going to go with 27-16 Bills. I think the Bills still have the more talented roster. The Jets haven't really proved anything yet, so I don't know how that's going to work in the locker room if it does at all with the Jets. But I don't think they're going to have figure out in time for Week 1.
All right, and now it's time for our season predictions. My favorite part of the year.
I think I'm going to go with 12-5. I think the Bills will still win the division at 12-5. I do think they have a tougher schedule this year, so I'm going to go with 12-5.
I'm going to have the Bills winning the division 12-4-1, and no one dies to make the tie happen. You heard it here first. No one dies. Next show, we guarantee to be back for the Commanders. We have never done a Washington Commanders show, so we have that to look forward to. But until then, Buffalo Bills pregame fans, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll be with you real soon.
Welcome to the after credits. So right after we filmed the show, that's when they decided that Christian Benford was going to be the starting corner and Terrel Bernard was going to be the starting middle linebacker. What are your thoughts on that? I personally think that Benford's a good choice out of the three, but I'm not a fan of Bernard, having very little experience from last season and not playing in the preseason and being the basically the quarterback of the defense. So leave your thoughts below as to how you feel about the newly named starters.